When you are factoring, especially quadratics, you are taking an addition problem or a subtraction problem and you are changing it into multiplication. You are doing math magic to change an addition problem to multiplication. That's the whole reason why we would ever do any factoring. Multiplication. There, I spelled it right. It's the only reason why I'd ever want to factor things. So factors mean multiply. So when we're talking about factoring quadratics, we are taking a 3-term or a 2-term thing that is having pluses and minuses, and we're trying to write it as a product or multipliers of at least 2 things. So the first thing that we always look for when we're factoring quadratics is common factors. Do all the terms have the same multiplier in common? Okay, take for example 5x squared minus 10x plus 5. Minus 15. Let me change that, sorry. Not that it has to be the same one on your paper, but just for funsies. Minus 15. So looking at each of these terms, we have the x squared term, we have the x term, and we have the constant term. They all have something that multiplies into them. And that number is 5. So since they all have a common multiplier of 5, we say, okay, instead of that equation, we're going to divide each of these by 5, and that simplifies our equation a wee bit. So now we have 5 times this other quadratic. X squared minus 2x minus 3, because factoring with a number in front of x squared can be sort of tricky. So first we factor out our common factors, and then we do our quadratic factors. So we want to now change this subtraction problem into a multiplication problem. So there are lots of methods to do that. I like this x method. We put the last number on top, -3, and the middle number on bottom, -2, without any variables or anything else. And we're trying to think in our brains what numbers multiply to give you -3, and at the same time add to give -2. We're looking for multipliers here and adders there. And hopefully you're realizing that those numbers are -3 and +1. So -3 times 1 is -3, -3 plus 1 is -2. So these numbers become your factors. X minus 3 and x plus 1 are now the 2 multipliers that give us this quadratic. Okay, and of course we still have the 5 in front as our common factor. So this would be the complete factorization of 5x squared minus 10x minus 15.